Some jobs seem so simple, so ordinary. Delivering a pizza is one of them. A warm box, a friendly smile, a quick transaction. It is a ritual of modern life, repeated thousands of times every single night across the world. But what happens when that ordinary ritual goes wrong? What happens when the person on the other side of the door is not who you expect? The night holds secrets. It hides things in the shadows between streetlights. For a pizza delivery driver, every knock on a stranger's door is a step into the unknown. They are vulnerable, alone and guided only by a name and an address. We think of horror as something distant, something that happens in old castles or dark forests, not on our own front porch. Our first story belongs to a young man named Leo. He was a college student, juggling textbooks and late-night pizza deliveries to pay his tuition. His beat-up sedan always smelled faintly of cardboard and cheap air freshener, a constant reminder of the daily grind. The job was mostly a monotonous blur of identical houses and brief transactions. The nights were long and the work was boring, which made the strange things stand out all the more. One Tuesday night, with closing time just minutes away, Leo was already fantasizing about his bed when the phone rang, its shrill sound jarring. The voice on the other end was thin and dry, like old paper rustling in a drafty room. It requested a single large cheese pizza to an old Victorian on the forgotten edge of town, a place with a dark reputation. Locals whispered it had been empty for decades, a place best left to its ghosts. Leo's beat-up sedan protested as it turned down a long, winding driveway, swallowed by the shadows of gnarled trees. The house loomed at the end of the lane, a skeletal silhouette against the sky. A deep, unnatural silence pressed in. Only one window was lit, a faint, sickly yellow glow on the second floor. He grabbed the pizza box, its warmth a flimsy shield against the cold, and walked up the worn stone steps. He knocked on the heavy wooden door. The sound echoed, loud and hollow, as if the house had been empty for a century. After a long moment, the door creaked open. A tall, impossibly thin man stood there, dressed in a severe, old-fashioned suit. His face was a mask of pale porcelain, his eyes dark voids that seemed to absorb the light. He didn't smile, he just stared. "You have my order?" The man's voice was the same dry whisper from the phone. Leo nodded, holding out the pizza. "$15.50, sir." As the man handed him a 20, their fingers brushed. The man's skin was ice cold, not the simple cold of a winter night, but a deep tomb-like chill that made Leo flinch. His gaze drifted past the man into the dark hallway, drawn to a large, ornate mirror on the wall. In its glass, Leo saw his own wide-eyed reflection. He blinked, thinking his tired eyes were playing tricks on him, but the space where the tall, pale man was standing was completely empty. Leo's heart stopped. A cold dread, far colder than the man's touch, flooded him. He stammered, "Keep the change," and stumbled backward. He turned and ran, scrambling down the stone steps and fumbling with his keys. He slammed the car into reverse, tires spitting gravel. He didn't look back, but he felt an empty gaze follow him all the way down the drive. He never told anyone what happened. Who would believe him? He quit the next day. He left his apron on the hook and walked out without a word. For weeks after, he couldn't sleep without seeing that pale, unblinking face. He was unable to shake the image of the empty space in the mirror. The man who owned no reflection. Leo froze, his mind struggling to process what he was, or wasn't, seeing. The man remained, eyes fixed, smiling thinly but not reaching his eyes. The mirror told a different story. An empty hallway where a man should be. Terror pierced him. He had to get away. "Keep the change," he whispered. And he didn't want the money anymore. He ran, not daring to look back. He feared what he might see in the upstairs window. For a moment, he worried the man would stand in the window, watching. Or maybe nothing would be there at all. His hands shook as he fumbled the key. The engine roared, a small, desperate heartbeat. He sped away and never spoke of it again. Some doors are best left unopened. Sometimes late at night, he still expects to see nothing looking back at him. Our second story follows Maya, a young delivery driver with a well-worn escape fund jar and a dream of leaving her small town behind. She was a pragmatist, saving for a one-way ticket to anywhere else. She'd heard the urban legends other drivers shared over cheap coffee, but always dismissed them as late-night exaggerations fueled by boredom. She worked at a pizza place ironically named Slice of Heaven. She was tough, unafraid of rude customers or sketchy parts of town. She thought she'd seen it all. But nothing could have prepared her for the last delivery of the night. The order was for an address on Blackwood Lane, a street where the manicured lawns of suburbia abruptly gave way to the gnarled, creeping woods that bordered the town. Number 13. The house was a dark void. All lights were off save for a dim, flickering blue glow from a downstairs window, pulsing like a weak heartbeat. She rang the bell. Silence. She knocked. A long pause, then the slow, deliberate turning of multiple locks, one after another. A small, frail woman peered through the crack, her eyes wide with a deep, settled terror. "Please, leave it on the mat," she whispered, her voice a dry rasp. "He doesn't like visitors." Maya bent to place the pizzas on the mat. As she did, the door drifted open a little further. A stale, cloyingly sweet smell, like old perfume and decay, wafted out, catching in the back of her throat as she glimpsed inside. Rows upon rows of porcelain dolls sat on shelves. They were perched on every surface, a silent, staring audience with glassy, unblinking eyes fixed forward. In the center, a large man sat in an armchair, a hulking silhouette against the frantic, soundless static on the TV. He was perfectly, unnaturally still. One doll, a little girl in a blue dress, slowly, impossibly, turned its head as if watching her. A cold dread washed over her. The room felt suffocating, the air thick with dust and an ancient decay, like a mausoleum that had been disturbed. "Please go," the old woman whimpered. The door slammed shut with a deafening finality. The locks turned, sealing the tomb. Maya backed away slowly, heart pounding, the cold, crumpled money still in her hand. She drove away, watching the house in her rear view until it faded into the oppressive dark. She had a chilling certainty that the old woman wasn't just scared, she was trapped. She imagined the dolls turning in unison, painted smiles becoming sinister. Was the old woman a caretaker or a prisoner? Another piece in his collection? The thought made her sick. She never forgot the silent man in his collection. Her escape fund felt more urgent than ever. Sometimes she imagines the TV finally going dark, and a new doll appearing in the window, one wearing a frail old woman's clothes. Our final story is perhaps the most unsettling. It's about Ben, a driver with a decade of late-night deliveries under his belt. He was the guy for the tough runs, who'd navigated treacherous weather and dealt with bizarre customers. He truly thought he'd seen everything the job could throw at him. He was about to learn how wrong he was. One dense autumn night, a strange order came through for Old Hollow Road, a place with a dark reputation among drivers for being a dead end to nowhere. The order was simple, a single pepperoni pizza, but the delivery notes were what made Ben hesitate. They were chillingly specific. "Leave pizza on the porch, money under the rock, do not knock." Despite his unease, Ben drove out of town, the city lights vanishing as the fog closed in. Old Hollow Road was worse than the stories claimed, unpaved and uneven, with skeletal trees clawing at his car, their branches scraping the windows like bony fingers. Finally, his GPS announced he'd arrived. Through the mist, a small, dilapidated cabin materialized. A single weak bulb cast a sickly glow over a sagging porch. Leaving the engine running as a lifeline, he grabbed the pizza box, its warmth a small comfort, and approached the silent, watchful house. Just as the note said, a large, flat rock sat beside the steps. He lifted it. Underneath, a crisp $20 bill waited. He swapped the money for the pizza. The whole exchange felt deeply unnatural, amplified by the oppressive silence. As he turned to leave, he heard it, a sound that cut through the fog, a faint, heartbroken sob from inside. Ben froze. It was unmistakably a child crying. Every instinct, honed by years of avoiding trouble, screamed at him to leave, but the sound was so full of despair. He couldn't ignore it. He took a deep breath, violating the primary rule, and knocked. "Hello?" he called out. "Is everything okay?" Only silence answered. He tried the doorknob. It turned with unnerving ease. The door swung inward with a long, agonizing creak. Using his phone's flashlight, he scanned the interior. The beam cut through decades of dust. The cabin was completely bare. No furniture, no lights, just a floor coated in a thick film of time and the musty smell of decay. And then he saw them, a single set of small, bare footprints. They led from the far wall to the spot right behind the door, and then simply vanished. A cold dread seized him. He backed out slowly. When he glanced down at the porch, his blood ran cold. The pizza was gone. He fumbled in his pocket. The crisp $20 bill was still there. He fled to his car, slamming the door and peeling away into the fog. He had heard a child. He had seen footprints. The cabin was empty, the pizza gone. Back at the shop, the $20 bill was real, but the address didn't exist on any map. No answer, no explanation, just a chilling memory that would forever haunt him. These tales are more than campfire scares. They're cautionary. born of the real anxieties of those who drive the night. Leo, Maya, Ben, their stories may be fictional, but they echo the fear of being alone on a porch at 2 in the morning. The next time you order late at night, take a moment. Remember the journey the driver took and the doors they knocked on before yours. Be kind to your delivery driver, lock your doors, and be careful what you order. Sometimes, the night delivers more than pizza.